All right, hello, this is your average Joe. Now, decided to go ahead and since I had some free time for about another 20 or so minutes, wanted to go ahead and throw together a quick video because I've been sitting in a car and just thinking about things. Decided to do this live, so if anyone happens to so upon see this and, jump in the chat, that would be interesting. I figured it would be something a bit more fun than just, doing a simple little video. Um, do apologize though. Nothing really to look at, but I mean, I would definitely gonna have to look into bringing something that would be interesting to look at, but won't possibly dox me in any way, shape, or form. Um, just because there's certain things that when it comes to especially taking pictures of anything and having any kind of sunlight or seeing the outside at all, it's very easy to locate someone and track someone down based off of that information. And I say that being a little bit facetious here, but I would, well, actually, the sounds outside too could possibly do it. Eh, you know, can't be too careful, no, honestly. So I apologize that this time I don't have anything interesting for you guys to look at. We'll definitely work on that for the next time, though. That and also, I don't think I'm as pretty as Signy MGTOW or, who's the other guy that does a lot of. Well, and I'm not full of myself, kind of like Yogi Obes. So, thought he was really good at first, but honestly, he kind of lost me when he started talking about, well, maybe social justice warriors are right, and you lost me. Yeah, no, not really feeling that, bud. But what I kind of wanted to go ahead and talk about really quick was this concept or notion of really what it means for a man to be, I don't know, I guess red pilled or go MGTOW. Like what does that action imply? What does it mean? Because saw a little video and of course, had to laugh at it because it's Sasha Day game talking about how I almost went MGTOW, and as if it's some kind of positive thing that he did not go MGTOW. That MGTOW is this extreme reaction where once you go MGTOW, you never go back. It's like something about once you go black, you never go back. Yeah, something. So really, what I thought was very ironic about his little statement, his little video about I almost went MGTOW, but I didn't. Okay, so you almost took charge of your life, but you didn't? Really? You almost made decisions for yourself as your own man and almost validated your own opinions and your own like persona, your own position in life as a man. You almost did that, but you didn't? Or was it you almost gave up on women and you didn't, and that's the reason why you're now still sitting here making PUA videos and selling snake oil to men who are very impressionable and otherwise still believe that there is a chance, an opportunity that exists that allows men to have the white picket fence, the marriage, and the kids with the dog. Is that what you're selling? Is that what you avoided? Because going MGTOW would have allowed you to see it for the dream and the illusion it really is. What I think is very funny about these PUA coaches is they're sitting there talking constantly about how to get women, how to do things, how to get that girl, how to be involved in, relationships and have these wonderful relationships, and yet I don't see a single one of them have anything to show for that. I mean, seriously. There's nothing that I've seen that indicates that these men have actually been successful with the very things that they preach. And this is even including the Red Man group, which, I think that they're actually more or less of goofballs than they are actually people to really listen to seriously. And even them, with them talking about PUA and marriage and relationships and even being fathers, I don't think that they actually have anything to really show for it that shows that they can put their money where their mouth is. You know what I'm saying? I don't see any evidence to support that, oh, if you just man up, if you just alpha up, if you just, do what you're supposed to do, this will all come into play and everything will be just fine and hunky-dory and you'll get everything you possibly want. It's just the men who aren't alpha, who are beta, or, just aren't good enough or not capable enough. Those are the men who will lose. And because you're one of those men, that's why you're losing. Well, it's an interesting little argument you got there, but can you actually prove it? Because everything I'm seeing tells me that it doesn't matter if you're alpha, beta, or a cuck. You play the game, you lose. You lose hard. Every time. And even with those guys that, but I know, like I said, I know personally a guy who I look at and I go, well, technically, and according to what we look at, you won. For now, and honestly, I really hope that he does win. I hope that he becomes the one person that nothing I talk about applies to, because for him to become a man that what I talk about applies to means that he will have to experience some significant pain, and I don't want my friend to go through that. Oh, it looks like we have someone that jumped on the live stream. Let's see if I can figure this out. Apologize, this is my first time using the live stream. Hello there. So, yeah, just went ahead and, sitting in my car, decided to go ahead and do a live stream. I apologize, there's nothing really pretty to look at. But I wanted to go ahead and talk about the concept and the notion. Hello, Zed Red. How are you today? But, wanted to go ahead and talk about, continuing on that, oh, great, that PUAs and, these guys that kind of look at MGTOW as an extreme reaction, as a knee-jerk reaction to reality and to what is going on in the world right now, as this thing that should be avoided, you should be proud of the fact that you didn't go MGTOW. And really what I look at it is the fact that, again, it goes into what MGTOW is actually about, which is personal sovereignty, your ability to make your own decisions, to choose your own path in life, and to really follow through with that. And what I find is, most often, the guys that refer to MGTOW as extreme, or as something that you shouldn't do, or something that should be avoided because, well, you're being extreme here. Well, yes, and the very funny thing about that is, even in the 90s, we saw this. I mean, I grew up, that was my childhood, was in the 90s, because I'm, a dirty, filthy millennial. But even then, we would find that things were not very much different. The only difference was how girls carried themselves was slightly different. They weren't very much so endowed with this concept of being absolute, honestly, there's no other real word for it, hussies. I look at these girls these days, and they don't carry themselves with any kind of intelligence or any kind of grace at all. It's just kind of, hello, Instagram hoes everywhere. And MGTOW is the path. It is the path, is the truth, and is safety. But more than that, it is the only way that a man can succeed these days. Because to play by any other rules suggests that you think you can win. Thank you. I do my best to try and articulate things as best as possible. Public speaking is very much something that I believe is a very valuable skill. There was a time where I could not talk about anything at all. So to the fact that I'm getting my message across so well is very, very, that means a lot to me, and the fact that I can communicate effectively. But in essence, really what it comes down to is I see these men who, in their fear of actually having to take control of their lives, their fear of actually having to make decisions, Not just any kind of decision, a decision in which you actually have to decide whether or not you want to be what we consider alone or not, single or not. If if having sex, if doing these things is so worthwhile, then why aren't you willing to do it? Why aren't you willing to throw your future away, your money away, your time away? Because maybe, just maybe, at the corner of most men's mind comes the moment when they have to actually acknowledge this creeping little thought. It is not worth it. It is not worth the pain, the suffering, or any of the just the semantics of it, really. The game itself is a joke. And what I find is absolutely fascinating is how many men still try to put on the PUA game. They still try to, in an effort to kind of, I guess, solidify their worldview, in an effort to try and hold it up and keep it propped up, because right now, the world right now as we see it is very stark, very contrast to how things have been going the last few years. And there is an extremism going on now, especially when it comes to your leftists. There's extremist thoughts and views that come from them. And the only way to combat that, according to some people, is to answer it with even more extreme views or similarly extreme views. A great kind of, I guess, there would be something that I learned in the military. It was called the force continuum. The force continuum was something that I learned because I did a brief stint with military police, in that when someone meets you with force, you have to meet them with an equal amount of force in order to subdue them or get them to listen to you. But your goal in everything was to, at every point, try and de-escalate the situation. And what we find right now, what is going on, is we still have people that are attempting to de-escalate the situation, people that are trying to walk it back and make it more rational and have a discussion about things. And that's not happening, because we're trying to talk to people who are, by every means, mentally and emotionally retarded. They're insane. They cannot comprehend the world around them. They cannot emotionally handle the world around them. They are not capable of actually handling the reality that they have created. Because that's what we live in right now, is this is an SJW reality. We have finally achieved their vision of inclusivity and wonderful, this little utopia of oppressiveness and victimhood. And, you have to answer for perceived slights now. These are things this is the reality that we live in right now. And what they find is, oh, it's a nightmare. It's horrifying. And the reason why I bring this up is because just this week we had at a high school, there was these two transgender athletes who blew out the entire girls, I believe it was their track team, and shattered all of their records. Well, of course they did. They're two teenage boys. They're two teenage boys in their athletic prime versus teenage girls in their athletic prime. Who do you think was going to win? And what we find is, now you even have some of these feminists who are attempting to, in their gynocentric nature, well, women can't lose. That's cheating. You can't beat me. Well, I'm sorry. You cannot tell them that they cannot be identified as females, because biology is a myth. It's a social construct. Gender is a social construct. This is all a social construct. We've removed the social constructs. Now these women are competing against other women. So they beat each other. Of course they did. Of course women beat each other. Of course this is a fair competition. And this is something I find it's absolute insanity to think that they can sit there and think for a second that their worldview would have ever led to anything else. And now they eat themselves. But back to what I was talking about earlier when it comes to the PUAs and this almost kind of pride in, oh, well, we didn't go MGTOW. We still talk to women. We still deal with women. So do MGTOW. In fact, some of the more prominent MGTOW that we see on YouTube still date. They have that choice. They have that ability. They have that reason to do so. If a man so chooses, Let him go date. Let him go get married. Let him go do the things that he wants to go do. But we will not give him the advice of, well, in order to get a girl, you just need to be more alpha. You need to remove your ability to have sovereignty over yourself. You need to remove your decisions. It's her first. And that's what these PUAs keep talking about. You need to be more alpha. You need to be presented better. You need to present yourself in such a manner, in such a fashion that, well, that I'm just so alpha. I'm just so awesome. You need to, like, come on, let's go. Let's look up. Yeah. That's not the reality, though. The reality is that is poison. That is poison of the mind. Because what you're telling these men now will get them a girl, possibly. But what happens when she leaves? What happens when she ruins his life? When she takes his everything? When she removes his being and removes his property, removes his rights, takes him to court, and destroys him in his life? Was he alpha enough? Well, your game was weak. That's why that happened. You just weren't alpha enough. Your frame was weak. That's the argument that we hear in response to that. And it has nothing to do with their own sovereignty. It has nothing to do with the man's health. It has nothing to do with what the man wanted to do or his goals or his dreams or what he ever wanted to be. It was, you needed to be more alpha. You needed to uphold your frame for these women. And that is the reason why I do not consider this PUA concept of, oh, I avoided going MGTOW, that's a great thing. No, it's not. What you showed was, while you might have the concept of a red pill, you're very much driven by a gynocentric nature. You are withheld within yourself. You are slave and still enslaved to the gynocentric nature that you have been raised upon, to the gynocentric thinking, to these things that you think that you must have. I must have a relationship with a woman. I must have frame. I must be alpha. I must be, what I consider a macho man. I must be considered, what I consider masculine, which is, getting all the girls and hooking up and being, alpha and having frame. And why do I keep repeating that? Well, that's because all they say is literally, you need to be alpha. You need to have more frame. You need to be sensitive and open to emotions and, able to communicate with her. You know what the funny thing is there was a post I saw. It was a funny little meme. And the meme is, it was a her, him, her, kind of conversation. And she says, you need to, communication is key to any relationship. So the guy then responds to her and says, okay, well then what's the problem? And her response is, nothing, good night. That right there is a key. And the funny thing is, I even see men who have been married for 15, 20, 30 years, go ahead and throw that out there. Hello, someone else has jumped on into the live stream. How's it going? And we lost someone. Oh, shame. Well, in any case, when it comes to this concept therein of that communication is there, that men communicate, we do. There's very few men that I know that don't actually actively communicate, because this is how we actually talk to each other, is you have to have active communication. Either you say something or no one will ever know. Either you actually put the point forth or no one will ever know. No one will ever guess what you have to say. No one is going to look for you to, we're not going to read the signals. That's not how we communicate with each other. So the very concept therein of that men just need to communicate better. We need to communicate more. We need to be more open and sensitive and, more inclusive with women. That's not the case at all, because we've always been doing that. We've always been open to women. We've always communicated with women. The difference between us and them is we don't understand each other because we don't communicate in the same fashion. And we don't show emotions in the same fashion. And in my case, at least growing up, I learned not to show my emotions to girls because it always ended up being absolutely horrifyingly negative. Because when the difference between men and women, when we show emotions and when we communicate with each other, is when men communicate with each other and we show emotions, it is direct, it is open, it is concise, or at least at the very, least, it is direct. It is open, it is concise, or at least at the very, least, it is concise. It is direct, it is open, it is concise, or at least at the very, least, it is concise. It is direct, it is open, it is concise, or at least at the very, least, it is concise. It is direct, it is open, it is concise, or at least at the very, least, it is concise. It is direct, it is open, it is concise, or at least at the very, least, it is concise. It is direct, it is open, it is concise, or at least at the very, least, it is concise. It is direct, it is open, it is concise, or at least at the very, least, it is concise. It is direct, it is open, it is concise, or at least at the very, least, it is concise. It is direct, it is open, it is concise, or at least at the very, least, it is concise. It is direct, it is open, it is concise, or at least at the very, least, it is concise. It is direct, it is open, it is concise, or at least at the very, least, it is concise. part of it, it's we talk to each other in such a manner that there's some meaning that can be drawn immediately from it, and it's typically very literal. And if we show each other our emotions, it means that either there's a trust there or there is a understanding that if I'm being emotional or showing emotion to you, that I need you to either help me or understand where I'm coming from. Whereas when women communicate and do things, and these are things that you don't hold against other men, typically, unless they're acting like a child. And then obviously, you handle the situation as you should. You treat them like a goddamn child. But when it comes to women, with communication and emotions, it's plays, it's games, it's 4D chess. They're playing this game that men can't begin to comprehend when it comes to manipulation and control. And when it comes to communication, women won't tell you anything. They'll hint at things, they'll subtly point out things, they'll be involved in certain ways, but they won't actually come forth and tell you what is going on. But instead, they'll go ahead and they'll give signals and cues and hints and manipulate words and manipulate emotion to attempt to get what they want, to subvert the meaning instead of just coming out and directly saying it. Because if they directly say what they mean, they lose power. They lose the ability to have control over the conversation, because then obviously we know what they mean. So, if you try to get anything else out of it, well, you didn't mean that, or you didn't say that. And furthermore, if you look at male to male dynamics versus female to female dynamics, male to male, as I just said, it's very straightforward. There's a bit back and forth there. There's some, things that are said that aren't meant, but most things are direct and to the point. If you look at female interaction, though, there's layers upon layers upon layers of meanings to communication and control and subversion that goes into their words and their emotions and how they talk to each other and what they think about each other. In fact, I remember I was having a conversation with a female coworker at one time, and she would sit there and act extremely, just really, really nice and polite. And, her and this other girl would talk all the time, and they just constantly, you look at each other and they're like, oh, they're really great friends. And then finally one time she looks at me and she says, I can't stand that bitch. I can't stand her at all. I hate her. And I looked at her just completely confused and baffled, because of the fact that in every single instance where I saw them talking to each other, they were so friendly and so energetic and so, just they looked like friends, the best of friends. And here she is telling me that she absolutely hates her. Like if she'd be on fire, she wouldn't even piss on her, kind of thing. So when it comes to that concept where PUAs just tell men that they need to communicate more and that they need to be more open with their emotions, that's inviting tragedy. That's inviting disaster, because what you're looking for men to do is communicate emotions and communicate the way men do, which is direct, to the point, and typically honest. I'm not going to say men don't lie, but we're very typically honest with what we have to say. Or if we do say something that's dishonest, it's inherently to what we're talking about. It's not a total dishonesty. It's just whatever we're talking about at that time. And you're telling these men that they need to go ahead and open up to, basically, you're telling the fly to open up to the spider. Fly into the web and open up to the spider. The spider is the spider means well. The spider's innocent. The spider will not do anything to harm you. You just need to fly into it. You need to open up. You need to be more inclusive, more responsive to the spider. And this is the reason why I look at PUA, and especially when it comes to their concept of their distrust and despising of MGTOW, because they look at us as the losers. They look at MGTOW men as, oh, well, you just couldn't cut it in the PUA game, so, you're nothing to me. And, of course, MGTOW, we look at them as, fools. How could you possibly keep telling men to continue on in this game and, to sell themselves to a system and to to people that will literally destroy them in most cases. And when it comes to, and I say most because the statistical average is most, and those who actually go through the entire thing and it doesn't affect them, those are statistically negligible. They aren't a large majority. They aren't something that should be considered or measured in a large quantity. But in any case, when it comes down to the point of it, it's very fascinating to sit there and have them view MGTOW as almost like this extreme emotional response. Like, you just couldn't get the women. You didn't have the game. You weren't alpha enough. You couldn't communicate with the spider well enough. And therefore, well, I saved myself. I didn't go MGTOW. Oh, congratulations. It's almost like saying, I almost drunk myself to death, or I almost, died in a car accident, or I almost, shot myself in the head, but I didn't. So everything's great now. It's like, no, you're conflating tragedy. You're conflating misery. You're conflating this concept that this is a knee-jerk reaction, that this is an extreme reaction, that all MGTOW are monk, and that you are your celibacy, that this monk mode that we talk about and that we, very much preach now, that this is something that is a tragedy to be avoided, that you're happier because you didn't go MGTOW. And I can't see anything that could be more contrary to the truth, especially when it comes to Sasha Day Game. In fact, if anything, I've seen that recently he's been looking a lot older, a lot more tired, not, so up and at it. And I've been, kind of wondering, because he sits there and talks all the time about great relationships, and yet you never see him with a woman. You never see him, talking to a woman about these things. You never see him show the fruit of that labor. I see MGTOW that show the fruit of their labor. I show MGTOW monks that show the fruit of the labor. They're happy. Even when if they're mad, it's because of something that we're looking at and seeing right now. But overall, they're happy. They're less stressed. They're actually showing progress and success. But I look at the PUAs, especially, like I said, Sasha Day Game. What do you have to show for that? Where's your evidence? Where's your proof that MGTOW is the tragedy and that PUA is the goal? And that, why is it so bad for men to accept that women are not healthy for them? What makes that such a negative concept? Why is it such a ridiculous concept to PUAs? Besides the fact, obviously, disclaimer, that their entire business is on men and women getting together and, doing their thing. What is actually so wrong with men not accepting a less than favorable, deal? Why should I sign the contract with someone who isn't going to offer me good favor, or isn't going to offer me something to gain from this? Because that's what the relationship is now. There used to be something to gain from it. Now there's nothing. It's just cost. So why would you tell me that the answer to my problems, the answer to this this issue, this contract that is failing and only costs for men, there's nothing to gain for men? Why are you telling men that their issue is communication and that they're just not being effective enough with their feelings, or open enough with their feelings and how they feel about something? Why is that the problem? Why is it the man's fault that this system exists, or that there is such a issue right now with relationships, that it's men who are not contributing enough? Because everything that I see the evidence for says the complete opposite. But I think this speaks again to the inherent gynocentric nature of PUA, because these men go out there and better themselves. And even there was a time when I was looking into PUA content and PUA messages, not really following it, but I was trying to figure out at the time why one of my own relationships was failing, and why things were not going well for me. And I saw the same thing over and over again, that the man needed to improve himself. The man needed to, show more game. The man needed to become more alpha and show frame and be more involved and communicate more, be more emotionally open, and all of these things. The man had to change the way he dressed and change the way he looked and, alter the way he acted. And he had to be more of a gentleman. He had to, carry himself a different way. He had to show class and status and all these things. I never once saw anything that said that the woman had to improve. I never once saw anything that indicated that the woman would have to contribute. I never once saw anything that inherently said that it was the woman's fault that the relationship was not working, or that anything she did was inherently bad. There's some indirect things that said that a partner may do this or this or this, but there was nothing that inherently said that a woman is at fault for when the relationship doesn't work. And that is the reason why I look at, again, I have to ask the question of why are you celebrating this concept of that you didn't claim sovereignty over yourself, that you seek to carry your life forth as yours, and that instead you looked at this and said, well, I almost went MGTOW. I almost claimed my own crown and almost chose my own path. That's what that tells me. And hello, how's it going? We have someone new in the live stream. How's it going when in doubt? Just going rambling on right now about basically some things I was thinking about while I'm sitting in a car. So, but what I was talking about was this concept that I saw a few videos recently. The one that kind of got me to go ahead and jump on this and talk about this was Sasha Day Game put out a video, and it was, I almost went MGTOW. The day I almost went MGTOW. And in his video, he basically describes this notion, this kind of thought process that, inherently speaking, he almost decided to change his life and, swear off of women and not be involved with this at all. And what I thought that was really funny is he kind of disregarded this concept that being MGTOW meant you took responsibility for yourself, that you claimed your own sovereignty. And instead, in his video, he goes on to talk about how because he's more effective with communicating with women and that he's more emotionally open with women now and he's more, there in the PUA game with women, this is the reason why he has succeeded, where if he would have gone MGTOW, he would have failed. And what I thought was really funny was there was a guy in the comments, and I wish I would have recorded this person's name, but they asked him, why is that success? And what makes MGTOW failure? And of course, there was other people in the comments that responded, but Sasha Day Game himself did not respond to that. And I've been looking back in his other videos, and people have been asking him the same question. What makes MGTOW failures? Why do you look at this as something that is a failure? Because he's talked about it before in such a manner that it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's an emotional reaction that if a man chooses MGTOW, he's doing it because, well, he just had bad luck with women, and that's the reason why he went MGTOW. And I'm like, really? Because I've only had, a few bad instances with women, nothing, extreme or major, and yet I'm still MGTOW. I've chosen my own sovereignty. I'm choosing my own path. I fail to see the negativity in that. I fail to see how I am failing myself, or that I have in some way failed in society or failed in life as a man. And of course, the very concept in here is the difference between PUA culture and MGTOW. In that PUA culture is still very, very heavily gynocentric, still very heavily involved in this notion and this concept that you have to be alpha and have frame, and your game needs to be strong. You need to present yourself as a very status heavy, very rich, very, very powerful man, or you have to present yourself so confidently, so precisely, so inherently full of yourself that women cannot possibly turn you down. Now, of course, I'm a little hyperbole there, but in essence, PUA offers everything in the way of criticism of men, of criticism of males and male culture, and nothing but critiques on how you need to act and how you need to present yourself and how you need to talk. And here's the thing, there are some men that, yes, they do need these lessons. They need that a little bit of guidance, a little bit of refining when it comes to how to carry yourself, how to talk like a man, how to act like a man, how to walk like a man. These are some things that, yes, some men need assistance with. And a lot of men have forgotten how to do that because, obviously, the amount of fathers we have in homes now is drastically decreasing, and it continues to decrease. So this is going to become a more prevalent issue where you're going to have people that will have to teach young men, here's how you talk like a man. Here's how you walk like a man. Here's how you act like a man. Here's how you, hold yourself up. Shoulders back, chest forward, head high. Now try again. And for that, I won't fault PUA, because that is one of the very first things that these guys go over is that kind of behavior. But they offer nothing in the way of, and this is including even female dating coaches, they offer nothing in the way of improvements for women. Here's how you walk like a woman, talk like a woman, act like a woman. Here's how a young lady or a lady should act, should carry herself, should respond to things, how she should communicate with things. And I feel like it is a very lazy thing to do, to insinuate that men have all this improvement to do for even the simplest, most gaudy of women. Women who, by all means and all stretch of the imagination, cannot even properly dress themselves in the morning, and yet men are expected to go get the suit, grow the beard and trim it appropriately and get that hard part, go for the whole, package, get the nice watch and all these other things, go to the gym and work out all this time and do all these things. And I work out, but I don't do it for that. But these PUA coaches tell these men they have all these improvements to do. They offer nothing for women. That these female coaches tell men all of these things that they have to do. They offer nothing for women. And in fact, there was another, dating coach, or in a way, female pickup artist. Her name is Amy Young. And I watched a few of her videos. And can I just say that I needed a significant amount of bourbon to get through them, because she is, I would not recommend her to watch. She is extremely cringy, very, very difficult to listen to. And her suggestions for women were so weak, so softballed, so just kind of, well, if it's something you feel, you should do this, kind of, maybe, not really, I'm not sure, but you might want to do it, you might want to think about it for a second. And I feel like that is an absolute failure, really, not only in messaging, but the fact that she is a very prominent female dating coach, and her message is so, okay, empowered women, let's go do this. Whereas for men, it's, here's the checklist of everything you need to do just to show up to the bar. And really, I think it's fascinating. Oh, absolutely, when in doubt. PUA in itself is incorrect, and it misidentifies purpose, because again, it goes into validity. How do you validate yourself? How do you present yourself and put yourself forward? And for PUAs, everything, your personality, your life, your success, your goals, everything revolves around if the woman will sleep with you or not. Oh yeah, absolutely. Hypergynocentrism and absolutely what that is. And that's something that I was talking about a little bit earlier, was exactly that concept. But overall, the thing that I really wanted to, I was talking about a little bit earlier as well, was the concept of communication, how men and women communicate and how we carry ourselves and do these things and how we talk to each other and even communicate right now. Where right now, the way we're talking, it's direct. It's to the point. We have, an inherent, you mean this and I mean this. And don't get me wrong, there's still situations where we might not understand each other completely, but we can typically at some point find some way to explain it or address it. When it comes to the emotional context, this is how men are. We are very to the point, direct. I can explain myself, at some point, because I'm being direct with my emotions. And even if unless I'm being absolutely passive aggressive, which at that point, that's an issue in and of itself. But being absolutely passive aggressive, I can still at some point explain to another man, this is what I mean by this, because that's just how we do it. Yeah, that should be, that's just how we do it. I like that. That's a nice little, it has like a double meaning and sounds a little dirty. So I think that should be like a little slogan. But in any case, what I find very interesting is the concept, and it's not just PUA that's talking about this either. This is something that the traditionalists talk about, and even I thought this was hilarious. Even now with the feminists that are now becoming conservative because they're getting beaten in life by the trans people. And because if anyone's been paying attention, there's a few things that happen this week when it comes to the trans community. But they all have this message where it's the men that need to communicate more and the men that need to be more emotionally open. And if it wasn't for men, just being emotionally closed off and not communicating their feelings or what they think, we wouldn't be in this situation. And my response to you is projection much? Because I don't know very many men that at some point with someone they're not open with. They're open with someone. They're open with some person, some place, at some time. And just because it's not you does not mean that they're never open to anyone. It just means you're just not a person that they particularly care about enough to go ahead and push forth any kind of idea or ideology that warrants you being worth that time or emotional effort or emotional connection. Now, and really what I think is very funny is they've switched over to this role after this week. I thought this was absolutely hilarious. If anyone didn't hear about it, there was two trans women who blew out a female track team, broke records, just completely destroyed these girls. And there's now not just conservatives, but there's now all these feminists that are reeing because, well, that's not right. They can't win. That's cheating. They're boys. And it's like, no, 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 no. This is what you wanted. This is the nightmare that you've created. Welcome to the social justice utopia, the inclusive bubble of hell, where men now get to just completely ream you, and the only thing we need to do is tell you that we're women. This is amazing. I mean, I look at it this way. This is amazing. This is beautiful. This is poetry at its finest. I don't think that there's a finer poet than life. Life is the most beautiful poet to ever exist. And the irony of the situation is not lost on me. Because I've looked at the same people who a week ago I made a video about the unconditional surrender statue getting hit with Me Too, and that they're accusing the sailor of sexually assaulting the nurse. The same people, not even 2 days later, were complaining about these transgender athletes blowing these girls out, just completely destroying them, demolishing them. And my response to them was, wait a minute, didn't you, are you transphobic? Are you against the trans community? How dare you be against the trans community? I thought you were supposed to be all inclusive and all these great things, because that's the argument that you used against me when I questioned you on why exactly the unconditional surrender statue is, a sexual assault story, is because, well, it goes against women. So wait a minute. Look, what you're telling me is, a few months ago, where you said that all of these transgender people were women and that biological sex was a social construct and that this all is just a made up, story by the patriarchy. Now that women lose, now it's a women's problem. Now there's an issue. There's a riot in the streets. People, get your buckets. We're putting out the fire. Like, oh my God, this is horrifying. It's like, no, this is amazing. Just desserts. Have you tried it? So, if anyone comes out, and says, what exactly is the point that I'm getting with this? I am now pro transgender athletes, and I look forward to the women's football teams getting major, remodeling here very soon. So I will wholeheartedly side with TFM on this. This is hilarious. This is amazing, and I will wholeheartedly pay to watch these events now because this is great. But in any case, though, what does this have to do with the PUA, MGTOW stuff I've been talking about? It goes into this concept of, again, why does PUA exist? Why does MGTOW exist? And why exactly do PUAs see MGTOW as failure? And again, PUA, we've established, is a very hypogynocentric, It's very female oriented. And if you're not PUA, if you don't have game, you're shamed. You're a beta cuck. Get lost. You have no game. You can't get the girls. They won't waste their time. They won't waste your time or your money. So you're the loser in the situation. You don't have any right to stand or sit around or talk because they won't spend time with you. So the very concept that I love this concept of Sasha Day Game saying, oh, well, I almost went MGTOW. Oh, you almost made a decision for yourself. You almost chose sovereignty over female validation. You almost chose personal responsibility, personal validation over female validation. Tell me, Sasha, where's this female that's validating you? Where is she? Where are these women that you talk about? Because the PUA game, the PUA guys, I've noticed are now calling for Nawalt hunting. Go find the right woman. We'll give you the 155 steps you need to do to find the right woman for your time and money, only for a small payment of $19.99.99, 4 times each, 5 times a year. Just pay us tens of thousands of dollars and we'll tell you how to find your Nawalt. And if you don't find her, well, you didn't have enough game and you just weren't alpha enough. Try getting more frame there, buddy. And hello, welcome to the live stream, live place, live thing. But in any case, really, I apologize if you're looking for structure. I'm rambling on here, so just apologize if things go around too much. I'll try to keep it within one boundary, one path. But when it comes to this concept of the new PUA Nawalt hunting scheme, and what we really see is Sasha Day Game and the Red Man group are the ones that really very much perpetrate this notion, this concept that if you just become alpha enough, if you get enough game, you too can find your Nawalt. You too will not be raped in the family courts, and you will not be subjugated to... Have I heard of Project Mayhem? I have not, actually. But you too will not be subjugated to alimony or child support, and will get the family, the white picket fence, and the dog that you deserve for a few small payments of $10,000 each. And yes, that price keeps getting inflated because, we're just so full of game and so alpha, you need to pay us tens of thousands of dollars. And then they laugh at MGTOW for going, hey, for the low price of $1,800, you too can get a sex doll and not have to worry about any of this. Oh, you're just a loser. That's the reason why you're going for transhumanism, is because you're a loser. You can't get the girls, you can't get the women, you don't have game. So therefore, you should not, shut up, loser. But the funny thing is, who loses in this situation? The guy who just kind of accepts reality and gets a sex doll or a sex robot when they come out, hopefully soon, or the guy who went out, he paid $2,000, went to the seminar, got the soap, bought the clothes. Yes, that is exactly true. Sheeple are there to be fleeced. If one lacks, that's on them. Absolutely. But the fact of the matter is, you actually do have men out there that are so desperate, because even, well, I thought those were very interesting. Even most of my male feminist friends, I don't have very many of them anymore. It's kind of what happens when you start questioning them on certain things. They get a little bit upset when, you tell them that, no, you really are kind of creepy when you run around and, oh, feminism, dude. No, it's a bunch of guys. Don't talk about that here. We don't care. That tends to lose you friends pretty quickly. But in any case, and oh dear, I lost my train of thought, unfortunately. Let's see, male feminist. Oh, Nawalt hunting. So, in any case, even they will... Real men are feminists. I love that one. I love that line. I've had that leveled at me so many times, and I respond back with well, I guess I'm not a real boy then. But one day I will not be Pinocchio. But what I find is very interesting is even they will admit that Nawalt hunting, that going and finding this perfect woman is suicide. It's stupid. It doesn't happen. It's ridiculous. It's dumb. Don't do it. Even the male feminists are saying that. So what kind of world do we live in where the male feminists are like, yeah, I wouldn't go Nawalt hunting. I wouldn't go looking for that special someone. Or I've leveled this at someone because I've had a few female friends that go, oh, you just haven't found her yet. And I'm like, I'll find her in 30 years. And they just kind of like look at me like they couldn't believe I said that. And I'm like, she'll be 20 and I'll be 50 and, it'll work. If the laws change, if things, progress and move on and we move away from alimony and child support and all these very ridiculous notions when it comes to marriage, you want to bring marriage rates back, you want to get people to get married, remove the negative parts of divorce. Make divorce literally something as simple as this. Unless there's been a crime committed, you settle it outside of court. When the crime's been committed, guess what? You're now in criminal court. There's no such thing. Remove family court. Remove that court system away from it. You will see men get married again. You'll see men and women get married again. When that happens, that's what will cause marriage rates to go back up. Now, is this something I'm like advertising for? Am I saying this needs to happen? No, I think it would be ironic. I think it'd be funny. It's not going to happen though, because the system still benefits men or women, my bad. But in any case, what we see largely with this is this very concept, this very notion that, and until something completely, does not benefit women, we will see nothing more than just the same old game over and over again. And that's what I was talking about with the transgender athletes. Now the trans community is under fire, under attack, because women are losing. They're getting their asses handed them in sports. So until they start losing at more than just sports, different levels of MGTOW. I've heard of the concept before. I really have. I mean, I've had that conversation leveled at me, and it was more or less of the different extremisms of MGTOW. So if it's something different than that, I'd like to hear about that. But I'm not very familiar with the different levels, though. Project Mayhem is for the later levels. Okay, I'll definitely have to give that a look then. But what we find, like I was talking about with the transgender athletes, now they're fighting against the transgender movement, these women and these feminists who not even a month ago were pro-transgender, let's go show the patriarchy, blah, 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 are now like, oh God, transgender ideology is horrible. It's ridiculous. Like, this is getting out of control. This is unbelievable. It's a boys' club. Yes, that was actually something that was said by a feminist that was kicked off of Twitter for hate speech against transgenders. And of course, it's a turf, but even now, I'm actually seeing some of the third wave feminists, your inclusivity, bubble feminists, are beginning to turn against this now because they're losing to the transgender women. Because men would actually, I thought this was the most funny, this was the most hilarious thing I've ever read in my life, but there was actually men that would rather have like a friendship with a transgender woman than actually date a real woman. And I went, what does that mean, friendship? Like, are you saying you would actually rather have sex with a transgender woman than an actual real woman? If everything was like completely done, there's guys coming out that would say, I'd rather have a doll or a transgender woman than an actual woman. And again, it goes into what a world we live in, what a time to be alive, that women are so vehemently, a risk. There's such a adverse, there's just such an adverse quality to women now that they would rather have sex with a man who looks like a woman than an actual woman, or a inanimate object, that looks like a woman rather than a woman. And really, this is, again, that goes back into my concept of marriage. I think it could change if it stops benefiting women. In and of the very simple fact of, if nobody gets married, if the marriage rates keep dropping like they will, and I'm saying they will keep dropping, there's no way in hell they're going to go back up. If they keep dropping like that and enough women go, well, I'm single, unmarried, and I have nothing to show for it, this needs to change, that is when we might see family court and alimony laws change, either that or compulsory marriage, which I don't ethical evolution. I have seen ethical evolution, and I very much like that video when in doubt. I like the points that you make in there. I talked to a guy that said he don't care if it's transitioned hole or a plastic hole, any hole would do. You know what? That's the exact same thing. I had a conversation with a guy that he pretty much said that if it loves him, he doesn't care. Like, just so long as he gets, something that looks like a woman, if he feels like it loves him, then he doesn't mind. But he would not ever settle for an actual woman ever again. And going into what When in Doubt was talking about, the ethical evolution. If the tech advances before we regain control, the tech will dissolve. Yeah, absolutely. And there's something that needs to be said here about this concept of there is now pressure on women. There is now a infinite pressure to for women to either fix this mess or double down on what they've been talking about. Either they accept that this is a now failed project, this social experiment has failed vehemently, and that they need to either back off of it or fully commit 120% to this now, or 200% to this now, because either you recognize this as a complete failure, or you pull a Brie Larson with the Captain Marvel ratings and go, oh, it's just a bunch of trolls. People wouldn't actually seriously hate what I have to say, right? Right? Sure, Brie Larson, sure. Don't get me wrong, I was looking forward to, watching the ratings get to about 10%, but then Rotten Tomatoes went ahead and ruined my fun, and sadly we got down to 29% not willing to watch Captain Marvel before they took it down, which I'm a little disappointed with. I wish, like I said, that I would have been able to see it go all the way down to like 8% or so, but hey, now they're having Brie Larson do damage control, and she's doing exactly that right there, which is she's doubling down on everything she said. It got down to 21. Okay, that makes me happy. I'm happy to hear that. It was even lower than I originally thought. Fantastic. I'm very, very happy at the fact that that movie has failed miserably because of Brie Larson. So the last time that happened, they stopped accepting clicks on. Yeah, that's what happened. Was they stopped accepting clicks, and then I do believe that they've removed the ratings for that now because it was trolls that were causing it. According to something I was watching the quartering, he was talking about it, and he said that he was showing the article, and it said that due to trolls, where they've removed the ratings for Captain Marvel because there's just so many misogynists in America, But no, the last time that this happened with an actress, her name was Ellen Page. If anyone remembers that particular bundle of joy, or bundle of sticks. Who knows? This live stream might get knocked down because of that, but hey, it's a first one. If I get struck down a first one, either I'm doing something right or I'm doing something horribly wrong. But the last time that there was an actress that she pulled that, made the same comments, made the same kind of accusations. I don't remember the movie that she was in, though, that was supposed to come out, and there was a lot of people that were going to go watch it and see it, and then she made these comments, and the movie failed, and ever since then, if anyone's been paying attention, Ellen Page has not actually had a real gig in about 3 or 4 years. And I do believe that Marvel, because this is beginning to negatively affect Endgame, which Avengers Endgame was supposed to be like the grand, finale. It was supposed to rake in all of the money. Now it's beginning to negatively affect whether or not people are going to go see Endgame, because they're like, well, if Captain Marvel is going to be a major part of that movie, I don't want to go see it. So there might be a likelihood that Captain Marvel might actually get written out of the Marvel Universe if it costs them more money. Now, obviously, her own movie going down, it cost them $150 million to produce, and they only have made about $60 million back. So this is the first Marvel movie that's been an actual failure in the box office. Even the Thor movie and the Incredible Hulk movie made almost all of their money back from production. But I probably will have to go ahead and unfortunately end this live stream here because I'm doing this off of my phone and my phone is about to die. So before my phone dies and I'm in the middle of this, I wanted to go ahead and, if you guys want any last comments, I'll go ahead and put them in the comment section or the little live chat, and I'll read them off really quick, and then go ahead and end this live stream before my phone dies. But in any case, to go ahead and sum up what I've been talking about, that when in doubt, MGTOW, go ahead and go take a look at his channel. He has some very, very good videos, especially ethical evolution. It is one of his definite best, and it makes a very, very good, valid argument for transhumanism, which is going to be something that we will see more in the future, very likely. Furthermore, thank you, Savage Reality, for dropping on by. And Red Zed, thank you very much. Your new support and your continued support, I look forward to having both. And it's always good to see Savage Reality. You always good things to say. And when in doubt, I hope to talk to you later on Friday. But in any case, thank you very much, guys. Again, to sum up my comments, PUA and MGTOW, it's very interesting to see how PUA tries to conflate MGTOW with failure. Absolutely. We'll have to talk. You have my email, right, when in doubt? It's youraveragejoe@gmail.com. Or sorry, youraveragejoe MGTOW@gmail.com. Yes. But